Here we go, here we go, here we go. Another episode of Change Your Pace Sports with alternative views. I'm your host, Kay. Here's another very special episode. Today, we're going to be going over 2020 NFL quarterbacks in need of a home. Some of these quarterbacks are on a team, some of these quarterbacks aren't. It's only 3 quarterbacks we're going to go over today. And we're going to show basically where would be the best fit. And I also give a secondary fit where they can also make sense at. So, we can start off with the most important, the most popular person right now. Free agent quarterback Cam Newton. Cam Newton is a former MVP, former number 1 overall pick, one of the more dominant quarterbacks in the entire league. So many people have said, what should Cam Newton do? Why is he even still a free agent? He was one of the actual top free agents this year. How was he not got picked? Now, he's coming off of injuries. He actually would have to work out. And the fact that we're going through this COVID where they can't bring people into the facilities and actually work them out. And Cam not really wanting to be a backup, wanting to be a starting quarterback where he goes, has been a reason why he's still a free agent right now. So I've actually found 2 places that would fit Cam Newton right now going into 2020. Let's start off with the secondary fit. Secondary fit, I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars is an excellent place for Cam Newton to end up with. Now, Jacksonville traded away their starting quarterback Nick Foles to the Chicago Bears. So 2018 rookie Gardner Minshew, who showed some promise, could possibly be the starting quarterback. But Gardner Minshew was a late round draft pick and showed promise. I feel like he can still benefit from sitting behind a player like Cam Newton for a year next year and allow Jacksonville, who has struggled to sell tickets and actually fill that stadium for the last 10 years, to finally have a true star, a true franchise player that can bring people into Jacksonville, into the stands, into the stadium, back supporting the Jaguars. Cam is that big of a star. He's one of the biggest stars in the NFL. And the fact that Jacksonville badly needs star power, and they already have an elite running back and Leonard Fournette, Cam is a perfect player for them to pick up and lead that franchise while Gardner Minshew is the backup, or they try to set themselves up next year to possibly get a player like Trevor Lawrence in the draft. But the best fit that I have for Cam Newton, well, I feel like a perfect fit for Cam Newton, is actually with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, people would say, well, why? He would only back up Ben Roethlisberger. And they still have Madison Randolph, who was the rookie quarterback from 2018. Why would Cam Newton make sense there? Well, I'm under the perception that Ben Roethlisberger, at this stage of his career, will struggle to be healthy for a full season. He's from the draft of Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning. Eli Manning just retired. Phillip Rivers looks like he's on the verge of retiring. And Ben he's coming off of last season when he actually missed the whole season after getting hurt in the first game of the year. So the idea of him being healthy going forward, or even for a full 16 games, it's not very possible. But the Steelers have already now put together elite defense, and they have elite coaching with Mike Tomlin. They can win a championship virtually every year if they have the right quarterback there. And a Cam Newton this season right now would make the Steelers a very scary team in the NFL, making Cam Newton a perfect fit to back up Ben Roethlisberger with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So for me, Cam Newton's best fit is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Secondary fit, and also an excellent fit, would be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Moving into number 2. Number 2, we have Jacoby Brissett. He's a quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he was the backup to Andrew Luck before Andrew Luck unceremoniously retired in the preseason last year. Jacoby Brissett was given the starting job. He played well, but not well enough to actually secure the job going forward. So because of that, Indianapolis went out and signed Hall of Famer legend Phillip Rivers. And they also drafted in the 4th round quarterback Jacob Eason. So it looks like Jacob Eason is the player that they have for the future. And they will have Phillip Rivers to play this year and possibly next year for a championship, or to compete for the playoffs. So it looks like Jacoby Brissett is the odd man out. He's probably going to get cut or just be the backup to the backup. So for him, I feel like there's 2 places where he can go and he can make more sense for the teams right now and for his own career. So the secondary fit I got for Jacoby is with the Washington Redskins. Now the Washington Redskins, they're coming off a poor season in which they had a rookie, Dwayne Haskins, get thrown into the fire. He struggled. They had signed Alex Smith a couple years ago, but then Alex Smith had a very horrendous injury in which he broke his leg. He's still recovering. This year, there's a hope that he'll make it back. But this is the second year I'm trying to recover from a broken leg, and it's not sure if he'll ever be able to play in the NFL again. So with Washington right now, they can really use a starting quarterback that has NFL experience. As they just got a new head coach in Ron Rivera, who was the head coach of Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers for years. So Rivera, he might want somebody that has more NFL experience for him to start off his career with the Washington Redskins as the head coach. So I feel for Jacoby, he can actually compete to start with Dwayne Haskins. He can also somewhat mentor Dwayne Haskins, and he can also be a good starter or a backup for Ron Rivera. So that's why for Jacoby Brissett, I think a better option for him right now would be the Washington Redskins. But I feel the best fit for Jacoby Brissett, what makes the most sense for Jacoby Brissett, and what's something a lot of people are not saying in the media that I think would make a lot of sense for the Cincinnati Bengals, who just got the number 1 pick and drafted star out of LSU, Joe Burrow. I've seen that almost no quarterback that starts week 1 in the NFL in his career is successful. Almost all quarterbacks that are successful in their careers either waited 8 weeks or didn't even play at all in their first season in the NFL. They backed up a veteran. They almost redshirted their first NFL season, or they redshirted the first 3 games, or they didn't play the first 4 weeks, or like Eli Manning didn't play till week 8. Most legendary NFL players or NFL quarterbacks that are very successful do not play from day 1, do not start from day 1. It's a very rare thing that they do start from day 1. Aaron Rodgers didn't start till his 3rd year. He backed up Brett Favre. It's a lot of name of it. Patrick Mahomes had to sit a full year behind Alex Smith before he got to play. So it's like they're looking like Joe Burrow will be a starter day 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think that would be an egregious mistake for Joe Burrow's career, and that might possibly ruin Joe Burrow's career. His career might end up more like a David Carr, who was with the Houston Texans number 1 pick in 2002, I believe. But for Jacoby Brissett, he can come into the Bengals. He can compete with Burrow for the start. He can start the first 4, 6, maybe even 8 games for the Bengals, so the Bengals can at least try to compete to win, so the team can actually build chemistry and not struggle with a rookie quarterback and get demoralized by a rookie quarterback in the first weeks of the year. And then you can bring in Burrow after seeing Brissett play in about week 4, week 6, and then allow Burrow to be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. But for Jacoby Brissett, I think this is a better and a best fit for him right now as I look across the landscape of the NFL that is better than what he has right now with the Indianapolis Colts. Let's move on to number 3. And this is a little bit more controversial. And this is a little bit more questionable also. But he definitely needs to find himself a home. This is quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals, former top 10 quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, former top 10 pick of the Arizona Cardinals, quarterback Josh Rosen. Now in 2 years, he's already been on 2 different teams. Drafted by the Cardinals as a rookie, then got traded in the 2nd year from Miami, and Miami just drafted a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th pick in the draft, and it looks like Tua will be the starter going forward. So in 2 straight years, Josh Rosen now has no home. He's not the focal point. He's not the frame quarterback there. So I feel like he needs to move on. He needs to find a home that is more. It's more for him. It's more set up for him, more so he can put his feet out and actually feel at home with his new home. So I feel 2 places that make sense for him. Now, secondary fit, one that will be a little bit better, is the Minnesota Vikings. I know as soon as I said that, there's probably question marks going off. Why on earth would Josh Rosen go to the Minnesota Vikings? Kirk Cousins is there, and he has a guaranteed contract for the next 2 years. Well, Kirk Cousins has shown us that he's just an average quarterback. We've seen him over the 5+ years in the NFL. He's an average quarterback. He's a starter in the NFL. Maybe a top 15 quarterback, not a top 10 guy, but he's that. He's a starter. Josh Rosen was projected to be the best prospect in the 2018 draft. The best quarterback prospect in the 2018 draft. Out of that draft, we've already seen players like Baker Mayfield, who was the number one quarterback drafted in that class, break records as a quarterback. We've seen Lamar Jackson, quarterback also drafted in the first round, win an MVP already. And we've seen Sam Darnold with the Jets start already with the Jets and have put up numbers. Josh Rosen was considered of that whole group the best pure quarterback prospect. It feels as if he's not been given the chance to reach his potential in these two different franchises that have just let him go and have never truly developed him. So I feel in a place like Minnesota, who's been starving for a franchise quarterback for years. Go all the way back to Dante Culpepper. They've been starving for a true young franchise quarterback. The Teddy Bridgewater, they drafted him, he got hurt, and now we see Teddy Bridgewater has now found himself again after all the injuries with the Carolina Panthers. They signed Kirk Cousins, who was already a veteran quarterback. So, for Minnesota, Rosen might be that guy for them. He might be their Vinny Testaverde. He might be their ability to draft. Like, they didn't get to draft him. He might be even their, their Steve Young. Steve Young doesn't get drafted by that team. He eventually gets, Joe Montana is the player I'm talking about. Didn't get drafted by the 49ers, bounced around from different teams, had to back up, and then became one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Josh Rosen, again, might not be Joe Montana, but he can have a similar trajectory because he was projected as the best quarterback prospect that hasn't been given a chance to reach his potential at all. In Minnesota, which has a great team, great structure, great coaching, but has not quite had the right quarterback there in the last 10 to 15 years. So for Rosen, he could probably sit behind Cousins maybe a year, maybe even two. And when Cousins is gone, he gets to take over. He gets to sit behind the Cousins, learn from him, and then take over that offense and be the right guy. And take over already a developed team that's ready to go for him. And he might be a championship-ready team and a championship quarterback. But the best fit for Josh Rosen, because he's a very brash guy, the mentality of somebody that's extremely confident and cocky, his mentality matches with that of the head coach, Bruce Arians, in Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians is known for knowing, like, no biscuit if you don't risk it. Like, that's his actual quote as offense. He's known for throwing the ball deep and really putting his all into quarterbacks and developing quarterbacks. So now, Bruce Arians just had Jameis Winston last year. Jameis Winston put up the best numbers in his career, but also the most interceptions. This year, they brought in Tom Brady to be the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I think for Josh Rosen, this would be an ideal situation for him to sit behind arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Tom Brady, one of the best quarterback offensive minds of all time, Bruce Arians. And he could sit behind Brady for maybe a year. Maybe that's it, 1 year for Brady. And then he gets to take over an offense already made with an offensive guru in place that has sat and waited for him to be ready. So I think Josh Rosen to Tampa Bay would be an amazing situation for him. And those are the two fits I have for Rosen, Minnesota Vikings and the Tampa Bay Bucks. And for this special piece, if you have any disagreements, if you feel like there's another team that Cam Newton could go to, a better fit, please leave that in the comment section. If you think Jacoby Brissett is best where he is, or maybe he doesn't fit with the Bengals or the Redskins, please leave that in the comment section. Or if you think there's a better team for Josh Rosen, or maybe Josh Rosen is just a bust, leave that in the comment section. I definitely want to hear from the fans out there. And if you love this content, please subscribe. Please like if you enjoyed this video. Again, this is Change Your Pace Sports with alternative views. This is for smart sports fans that enjoy smart sport topics. And I'm your host, Kay. I'll be back again soon. Peace.